Hey guys, hope all is well. Since we have so many new followers, so many people that have actually followed us for many years, and brand new followers, just wanted to jump on here to talk a little bit about the value of real estate. One thing we take great pride in, and I think why people follow us, is because we're just regular, everyday guys who seem to connect with a lot of you and obviously utilize our services as your representatives to either buy or sell a home here in Greater Atlanta. But one thing and the feedback that we get for anybody that actually joins the family is that people have been following us for a while, or they stumbled upon us on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. We came up in their feed and they appreciate what we're trying to do because we try to do it right. We try to do it organized, and we try to share our own experience. Me now being into my 40s, well into my 40s now. You can see by all the gray hairs. I have just life experiences inside and outside of real estate, inside and outside of finance, just living life, making mistakes, learning from it, doing things that changed my life. And one of those things is real estate. So I just want to get on here to hopefully inspire you to aspire to become a homeowner. That's our whole mission here at GreatHomesATL. Now, real estate and how it can play a role. We always talk about being financially, diverse. One of the things that real estate does is allows you to tap into wealth and generational wealth. And let's just talk about, how it can and then the steps to get there. So number one, real estate allows you to buy an asset, right? You have liabilities and you have assets. Real estate is a combination of both. And there's good liabilities and there's bad liabilities. Think of bad liabilities of overextending yourself, putting things on credit cards, maybe overextending yourself and buying a car that is a depreciating asset as opposed to an appreciating asset. Meaning that in general, if you look at the history of real estate and when people have bought land, bought properties from the beginning of time when, real estate is a kind of financial tool, it's an appreciating asset. And how does it become an appreciating asset? You are basically purchasing, whether it's a condo, a townhouse, a single family home, a place that is going to put a roof over your head, right? Everybody, in this world needs or wants or desires, supply and demand, a place to call home, right? So you have an option to stay with a family member, parents for your whole entire life, right? I don't think a lot of us would want to do that. You have an opportunity to borrow, to lease, to rent a piece of property to put a roof over your head. As a consequence, this person owns this piece of land or this property. And on that land, they have built a structure, whether it's a condo, a townhouse, or a single family home. And the trade-off is, I'll let you stay here, but for a price, right? And let's just use some simple numbers, right? Let's just use $2,000. Of course, a lot of people are not going to pay $2,000 for a rent, but trust me, if you know Atlanta, if you know New York, if you know LA, tons of other places, Miami, $2,000 is pretty reasonable. And a lot of people will, have a roommate or share that with a partner or spouse, right? And it becomes relatively affordable. If you're making a decent salary because, you went to trade school or you went to college and now you're working for a company or you have a business. And, you could easily afford that between two people or possibly one, depending on how well you're doing in your career. So $2,000 times 12 months is $24,000 out of your salary, out of your income, however you make your money, that if you rent, it's never to be seen again, right? The trade-off is it gives you, for a specific period of time, whether that's month to month, whether that's 6 months, whether that's a year, whether you sign an extended lease, the agreement is you will pay this amount by the first of the month and you'll be allowed, to stay there. Well, again, that money, once it's gone, is not working for you. It's forever gone. That's just, again, use simple numbers. You do that over a 10-year period, that's $240,000. People are like so ingrained into just look at a monthly payment or that rent payment. Oh, and I make 50, 60, 70, 150,000, $200,000 a year, whatever the case may be. I could easily afford $2,000 a month. But when you start thinking about things in the bigger picture of things, 10 years, $2,000 a month, $240,000 that has not been invested, but has just been given to somebody because they let you stay in that particular apartment, condo, townhouse, single family home that you're renting out. That's not inclusive of if you don't stay there 10 years, maybe you hop around, maybe you move from city to city, town to town, right? You have moving expenses, you have security deposits that you have to put down again, right? All that kind of situation. Now through home ownership, through great credit, good credit, we'll get a little bit more into that, and having saved for your down payment and closing costs, you're gonna go to a bank, a credit union, whatever the case may be. Think about it. The average everyday person, I'd say 99% of people, including myself, when I bought my first house, and even in our current house, if somebody said you have to save up $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, $600,000 cash, meaning you couldn't borrow anything, and you had to come up with that to purchase a house, chances are you probably in your lifetime or for a very, very long time, maybe towards the end of your life, you would not be able to buy a house. The trade-off is there's going to be banks, credit unions, mortgage lenders that are just going to ask you, hey, Joe, Brittany, whatever your name is, Joe Smith, right? We'll just use Joe Smith. Joe Smith, the trade-off of me borrowing, giving you $300,000, just use that number. All I'm going to ask from you is to put 3 or 3.5% down. All I'm going to charge you is a relatively affordable interest rate, whether that has a 2, 3, or 4 in front of it. Think about it. Somebody is giving you $300,000 for the trade-off of 3 or 3.5%, and giving you the trade-off for borrowing that money at a 3, 4, this past year 2% range interest rate. Think about it in terms of what you see on your interest rate for your credit cards, from other liabilities, car notes, student loans. And not only am I going to give you that money to enable you to buy that home, when you go to sell that home, I'm going to let you take the profits. Right? Pretty good trade-off. So you're telling me my bank, credit union, mortgage lender is going to let me borrow $300,000 in this scenario. You can put your number in there, 200, 500, 800, whatever the number is. 3.5, maybe certain situations when it gets to a higher end property, when you're approaching, 600, 700s, 5% or 10% down. But majority of people are going to be in that 3 or 3.5% range. I can now borrow that kind of money. And when I go to sell it, I could take the profits. And think about it, again, in that $2,000 scenario. Once the $2,000 is gone, it's gone. What happens in a $2,000 mortgage? A portion of it is going to go to pay down the principal, which means instant equity, instant piggy bank. The interest that I pay on it in the 2s, 3s, or 4s is going to be a tax write-off. The property taxes that I pay on that property are going to be a tax write-off. If I'm a business owner, have a part-time business, full-time business, I'm a registered LLC or S Corp, I can write off some of my expenses for that property as a tax write-off. And then when I go to sell that property, you're telling me there's not going to be a prepayment penalty that you're telling me I don't have to take the profits. If I say live in a property for say 10 years and I bought a house for $300,000 and now my mortgage at the 10-year mark is down to say $180,000 and my property is now worth $350,000. You're telling me that when I go to sell after my commission fees and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to be walking away with $150,000, $160,000 in profit? And you're also going to tell me when I go to sell, because I've lived in that property as my primary residence 2 out of the last 5 years, or 3 out of the last 5 years, 4 or 5 out of the last 5 years, or 10 years, that when I go to sell, say I'm single at the time, and I profit $250,000 or less, I'm not going to have to pay the government taxes on that? No capital gains? Nothing? And if I'm married, if we profit up to $500,000, I don't have to pay any taxes on that? You guys, when you sell stock, when you day trade, when you do crypto, whatever you do, you have to claim that as income and you get taxed on that, right? In real estate, when you make that profit and you've lived in the property as your primary residence for 2 out of the last 5 years, that's tax-free. While I own that house and it's gaining equity, right? Because I'm paying down the principal, writing off the interest, all that kind of stuff. I have a literal piggy bank. I have equity, right? That I can claim in that house to pay down debt, to start a business, to help pay off my college loans, to invest in other asset classes. That's your money. The only thing you have to do is pay your mortgage on time. It's a trade-off. Somebody's giving you all that money. They're giving it to you at a reasonable interest rate. All you have to do is pay, just like you would have to pay rent, or else you're going to get evicted. In real estate, and when you own a home, the bank owns that home until you sell it. You stop making those payments, the bank has the right to take that property back and be foreclosed on. So the trade-off, guys, buying a house, holding on to it, making your payments on time, you're going to walk away with huge profits if you do it right. Rent or own. We'll talk again in the next video about who should be a homeowner and who should stay a renter. But that is the power of real estate. Home ownership, generational wealth, tax write-offs, tax-free profits. All right, hopefully this inspires you, once again, to aspire to become a homeowner here with Great Homes ATL. We'll talk to you soon.